Everybody, in this video, I want to discuss the composition relationship, aggregation composition. That means one object has another as its instance variable. Okay, so let's think about this. Suppose you want to have several books to read. Okay, so what objects should you have? Book, of course, that is the object, right? So you will have a book. And how do you describe a book? How would you define a book? A book will definitely have a title. It will definitely have an author. It has a price, it has a publisher, and everything. So to be simple, let's just say a book has a title and it has a number of pages and it has an author. So title can be a simple string, right? Number of pages, that can be a simple int. Well, what about author? If you think about it, can author be a simple string, a name? No, because an author is a person. A person is much more complicated than a simple string. And an author is more than a person. It's a person plus more. So what does an author have? An author has a name, has a gender, age, maybe books he has written, publisher, etc. So many attributes to describe an author. So for simplicity's sake, let's just say an author has a name and has a publisher, okay? Because remember, in this chapter, I'm not focusing on how to describe an object. We did that in chapter 4. Here, I simply want to look at the relationship, okay? So to save time so that this video is not too long for you, I already wrote the book class. So let's look at the book class. Okay, so a book has a title, it has a number of pages, they're all, a title is string, number of pages is int, and it has an author. And this is where the composition occurs, or aggregation, right? So we will say book is an aggregation of author, because author is not a simple type, a primitive type. It is a class type, an object. So it means book has an author. Okay, that's the composition. We say composition aggregation. Composition simply means a book is composed of author. Okay, so those are the three instance variables. And then I have a default or empty constructor. And since author is an object, you don't initialize it to empty strings. You don't do that because that's for the string type. You initialize it to null. That means it does not exist. It doesn't point to anything. And I'm overriding the constructor here. So public book accepts a string, int, an author. Notice this is the class type, right? So this author is once again not a simple type, but an author type. Okay, and we use this is a review, right? We use this because the two have exactly the same name. So we differentiate them. And for number of pages, we do not need to do that because this is a different name. So we can do that. And this author is equal to author. Okay. And these, you understand them, right? So we can just do, those are the accessors. And for this get author, notice its return type is the class type. That's the author. And you simply return the author. That's the object, right? And this is changer, mutators. You understand this, set title, set number of pages, and the set author. So set author, remember we said for mutators, you accept the type of the same type as the instance variable. So author is author, right? So we accept an author. Okay, and we simply assign them. And then to string, I formatted a little bit, title plus title, and add a new line character, right? Add a new line character. And let's just add another new line character so that, okay, so that it has a space, empty line. So this is the book class. Now, since we have the author here, let's look at the author class. Actually, when you write this project, what should you write first? You should write the author first. Otherwise, it won't compile. So we should actually look at the author first. I made it very simple. Name and publisher. Okay. And so just one constructor, and you understand that. And these are the accessors and mutators. You also understand that, pretty easy to understand. And toString, return name and publisher. Okay. So yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that's the author class, and that's the book class. Okay, now let's look at this project then. So this is books to read for summer read, I should say summer read, something like that. Okay, in order to do this, to create books, what do we need to do first, right? In order to create books, we need to create authors first. So look at the author constructor. It accepts name and publisher. So we need to construct the authors first. I did that already. Once again, I want to save some time so that I can talk more instead of type, right? So, okay, we create the authors first. And I created 3 authors. I read these books. So, okay, these 2 are the most recent one, these 2 authors. Okay, so Peter, I just use one name. Peter, that's the name, and that is the Random House, is the publisher that he uses or who publishes his book. Okay, and the Hawking, you all know who he is, and Faulkner, you all know who he is. Okay, so we created the authors first. Now, after we created the authors, we can create the books. So I'm going to copy that again. I did them, and then I just deleted them so that you can see I wanted to explain them, right? So we created 3 books. Book 1 has nothing, and that is because we do have this constructor here, right? So title will be unknown and no author, and the number of pages will be 0. And this one, book 2, that's the title. This is an excellent book, everybody. It's very funny, and at the same time, it has lots of information. So I made up the pages. I listened to it. So, and there are 2 authors. And book 3, brief answers to big questions. This is an excellent book. Also, I made up the page number. I read it during the summer. I don't know how many pages, but this is the author. Okay, so if you look at your book, the book class, right? String title, int number, and author. So that's what we did. String, int, and author. Okay, that's the author there. So now we have these books. Let's print them out first. I'm going to, okay, let's look at this. Just copy them. Okay, let's print out and see what happens. So book 1, title unknown, number of pages 0 now. Book 2, we do have book 2, right? And notice that this author and publisher are both here. But if you look at books to read, when we created the books, we only have the author. So where does the publisher come from, right? Where does the publisher come from? The publisher comes from here, author. So when the toString method is called, it returns the name of the author and the publisher for the author, okay? And if you go back to book, in the toString method, we return the author. And that is an object, right, of the author data type, abstract data type. And when you use an object, concatenate an object to a string, that that object's toString method is automatically called. That's why you only have author here, but because the toString method is automatically called, so it's calling this method, and it gives you the name and publisher, okay? So that's why when you run, you see that it has the title, right? That is from book. It has the title and number of pages and author. So it has title, number of pages, and author. Author is an object. So the toString method of author is called here. And that's what that is. Okay, so now let's set the book one, right? I have it here. Okay, copy it here. Okay, let's change book one so that it's an actual valid book. Right now it's not, right? So now I set title to Sound and Fury, I set author to Faulkner, and set number of pages. Once again, I don't remember how many pages. Let's run. Okay, so now your book one is a valid book, right? Okay, so that is that. Let me see what else I have here. Oh, okay. So we can also do this. Okay, let's just copy it, right? Why do I type? This saves a lot of time. Okay, so you can call B3, which is book 3, right? And get author. Of course, that is because book 3 is, the B3 is a book object, and the book object has get author method, and it will give you back the author. So let's run. And because it gives you an author, okay, this method call will return an author object. And that object is being concatenated with a string. So once again, the author's toString method is automatically called. And okay, let me explain that again. This method call will return an author object. And that object will be concatenated with this string, right? Because it's concatenated with a string, that object's toString method is automatically called, which is this here. Let's run. Okay, and you can see book 3's author, right? There. Okay, another thing I want to do is book 3's author, you get that object, and you can actually get the publisher. So what this does is this will give you the object, right? Why? Here, this will give you an author object for book 3, and then you use that object to call get publisher, because author has the get publisher method. Let's run. Okay, book 3's author. Now I just need to 3's publisher. Okay, let's run. This makes more sense, right? Book 3's publisher, Scholastic. Okay, I made that up. I don't know if it is, but this is something you want to get used to also, okay? Because it returns an object, author, you can use that object to call the get publisher method. And you can use any method, right? In the author class. You can use any method because this will give you an author object. I think that's it. That's all I have. Yeah, that's it, everybody. I will stop this.